Thanks for coming on, Brooke. It's really good to have you there.
Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to getting into this one. I know we first spoke quite a while back and put this in the diary. So, I think I'm just going to jump straight into it really and kind of go into your story. And I think a good place to really start is talking a little bit about life kind of before your injury and who you was.
Right, I don't think I was the stereotypical student. When it comes to 18, I had no interest in going to university at all. So like the interest in going to university for me was going on the gap year afterwards. So that's what I did first. I saved up. We were working in factories and stuff in Scarborough, where I'm from, and I went with a couple of my mates. We did a round the world trip, sort of Singapore, Thailand, Australia, Fiji, America, Canada, and I did that first. When I came back, then I kind of thought, what am I going to do in my life? I thought about going to uni then, and then I went to Manchester Met to do electrical engineering. Kind of rushed into it really. Probably wasn't the right choice, of course, for me, but I went out. I was a student, but I was quite an older student. I was like 20. I think it was 20. Well, 23 when I went to uni. 24 when I had the accident. We went to, and when I say, people say it was just a normal day, don't they? And it really was. It was just a normal day. It was you're kind of not expected for what will be the most significant day of your life. And we'd gone out as we do on it was a Monday night, a student night, and we went to. One of my housemates, Mark, he knew these lads who were in a band, so we used to go watch them occasionally, and they're just an amateur band, and we various bars and stuff in Manchester, little venues, and it was at the Revolution on Deansgate Locks, and we went to watch this band. My last sort of memory is sort of having. I remember speaking to them about lunchtime, and they were due to play at that later that night. I don't remember anything about the actual gig. The band, by the way, were called the Cortinas, who have gone on to do pretty well since. But they were just a pretty pure amateur band at the time. They were good, but they were just starting out. So I went to them at the Cortinas at the Revolution on Deansgate Locks. I was walking home. And I have no memory of this. This is just what I assume what I was doing. I was walking down Oxford Road in Manchester, and I would have been heading towards this load of bus stops at Palace, outside the Palace Theatre, and I would have been heading to that to catch the bus back to Fallowfield. And on the way to that, I crossed over a street called Main Road called Portland Street, which is there's a McDonald's there. And I crossed over the road. I've no memory of this at all. I'm assuming what happened. There was a car. Witnesses say there was a car. It was going at 50 miles an hour. It's a 30 miles an hour zone. It's also, do you understand what, like a bit of a dog leg in the road? It kind of goes sort of right, and it's not directly straight. So if you carry on straight, the path straight would go straight down the pavement of the Portland Street, and I guess I was coming over the road. I'd actually made it to the pavement on the other side, and he slammed his brakes on it. He went into a skid, and he went onto the pavement, and he hit me on the pavement. Judging where the mark is, the scars are on my head. It's on the left side, so it's that's supported by I think he hit me from that side. My head went straight through the windscreen. I don't think I had any memory of it whatsoever. I don't think I was aware of what was happening. Yeah, it just took me by surprise. It fractured my skull, broke my left cheekbone, my nose, my eye socket. The impacts was that hard on my head. It cracked a lot of my teeth. The palate, the roof of my mouth, that was snapped. A vertebrae in my neck, I can't remember which one, but it wasn't one of the serious ones, was cracked. And that was my injuries really. There wasn't really any other broken bones. There was a few glass cuts and stuff, but that was the bulk of it. It was luckily, if you whatever you want to call it, on my head. And I just think I was just instantly lights out. So what's happened is if you have like a serious head injury like that, it's called the golden hour. So from the point of impact, the time starts ticking, and you have to get that medical attention within, well, as quickly as possible, ideally, but certainly within the hour, because what happens is my brain had bounced around inside my skull, and your brain's just like any part of your body. Like if you hit your thumb, you stub your toe, and it swells up, and your brain swells up. It doesn't realise it's in the skull, so it starts to swell, and it creates pressure inside the skull. It's called intracranial pressure, and if that intracranial pressure gets too much, it can like kind of crush itself on the inside and cause further damage. So what they need to do is you need medical attention, so that pressure has to be relieved or it has to come down. I mean, in more extreme cases, to get everything where they kind of cut like a big chunk of skull away from the head. Luckily, touch wood, I didn't need that. I've got like what's called a shunt in my head, and they just kind of put they drilled a hole essentially. Right. And I always think of it like a Coke can's going and letting the pressure out. But I've got like a little scar up there, which was revealed in COVID times when we all shaved our heads. But I think it'll stay that way. And the paramedics got me to the hospital really fast. I mean, I don't know if you remember, there was an old Top Gear, like old school Top Gear with Richard May, James Hammond, and Jeremy Clarkson. Richard Hammond crashed like a drag racing car, and that was in 2006. I think that was like pretty new at the time. It was the year before, and we had very similar injuries. We were like on this. It's called the Glasgow Coma Scale. You know what sort of state you're in, and we were both like a 3 on the Glasgow Coma Scale, which is that's as low as you can go. And but if you watch the video, like by the time the car had stopped rolling, the ambulances were already rolling towards him. So he got pretty much instant medical attention. Yeah, I mean, it's a massive credit to NWAS, Northwest Ambulance Service, who then they must have got me to Manchester Royal Infirmary, the hospital around the corner, within, I don't know how long, but it must have been 20 minutes, something like that. Yeah. And I've actually met the 2 paramedics who rescued me on that night. Nice. Shout out to Jonathan and Luther. So that was without them guys, I could have been, I suppose, every minute. It gets worse, doesn't it? So I mean, I've got lots of symptoms now, but not anything for what it could be. I can appear kind of normal. Yeah, exactly. In terms of the aftermath then, so after you was treated and kind of discharged, I suppose, back to kind of normal life, what was the aftermath of that for you? That's a bit of a big question. I mean, it's like I was in hospital. I was initially in Manchester Royal Infirmary. Then I got moved to Hope Hospital, which has now been changed its name to Salford Royal, which is one of the top neuro units in the country. I was in a coma. I was in ICU, intensive care unit, for I don't know, a couple of weeks maybe. And then I was in a ward called B8 and a ward called C2, which is like a recovery ward. Okay. And then I went on that's when my memories start to come back. And then I was in Hope Hospital for like 3 months, and then I got moved to Trafford Hospital, which is more of a recovery hospital, recovery ward. And I was in there for a total of 5.5 months. I mean, there's lots of things I could say about, but I don't think I didn't realise at the time. People say, like, especially initially, you're confused, and I didn't realise I was confused, but obviously I was.
Yeah.
I thought it was totally fine. There was one thing that kind of one thing that kind of stood out to me at the time was I was weighed, and I was like 7 stone 8 or something like that, and that's when I thought, well, that's, there's something a bit weird here, but
yeah.
And then I was discharged. I went home. I went back the place where I went back to my parents in Scarborough. I lived in Manchester as a student, but I went to my parents, which after a lad who's, just been around the world, then he comes back and he's living with his mum and dad again. It's not the best ego boost. So I went to things are different. I think the first thing I remember, actually, I used to work on Deansgate locks in a bar called Loaf. I don't know what it's called now, but it's old school Manx will remember Loaf. It was a Tuesday afternoon. I was taken there to meet some of my old friends who hadn't seen me, and people, there was all sorts of rumours going around about me, and I went to I met a few people in there, and I just remember we chose Tuesday afternoon because it was like the quietest time of the week, but I thought I could go straight into back into a Friday night. Thankfully someone chose for me a Tuesday afternoon. And I remember the music, even though it was turned way down, it was just like pounding in my head. And then like people obviously I was like talk of the town. People wanted to talk to me. Everybody wanted to ask me questions, and it was just totally overwhelming. Like I'd sat in hospital, imagining that moment I was going to go back on the scene, and I was going to be like, Mr. Social butterfly kind of thing, chatting to everyone, and I just failed miserably because I just couldn't handle it, and I just kind of wanted to. Well, I was polite, but I wanted to get out of there pretty much as quickly as possible. And I just kind of feared going out. Well, not going outside, but I wasn't so keen on going out. I became like quite insular. Is that the word? I think the first time I actually noticed was the first time I went to it was the Trafford Centre in Manchester, went there for some food, just so I went after hospital food for 5 months. You really fancy a KFC, so I went there. It was a bit of a treat, and we went there, and I remember I nearly threw up. My sister's boyfriend Jay at the time drove me, and he drove as carefully as possible, and we kind of figured it was because I'd been sat. Literally, I'd done nothing for 5 months, and then all of a sudden I was going at 30 miles an hour. I was going left, I was going right, and my organs were moving about in my body. And then I went into this like a central hall in the Trafford Centre, which is like you're like 100 meters from the nearest wall. And I'd been in a hospital, and it was just like a small, like maybe 10 meters from the nearest wall, and it was just I'd been in kind of an enclosed space, so just everything was kind of new again. It was just things were difficult. I mean, you want to. The same thing happened in the pub. There was the smoking ban while I was in hospital as well. And all of a sudden you couldn't smoke in pubs, and there was TV, like there was stuff from digital TV. It started set top boxes and stuff, and I remember there was. I was going to my mum's, and there was Top Gear on. I used to like Top Gear, and there was. I thought, what channel is this on? It was. I remember it was called Dave, and I couldn't really get my head around why are they calling Dave Channel Dave? You don't turn over to Steve, do you? It was just something. I just thought the whole world had just transformed. It was really, really shocking. And then. I mean, I'd only been away like 6 months, and then it's totally, things seem to have totally changed. And then I guess your brain's not as, it's not as equipped to deal with change as it was. So everything was just shocking. It was just exhausting, and sort of exhaustion was something that I really found difficult to deal with, like the fatigue levels and stuff. And that was one of the biggest shocks, really. Just you kind of go into being instantly an old man. You just can't handle things anymore, and you just want to go home and sit down.
When it came to the next part, and I understand that exhaustion, and you've been in all them environments that had kind of made you kind of want to stay in a little bit more and not put yourself into that environment again. I know when we spoke about this, exercise started to play a bit of a role in your life in terms of the recovery, not only physically but also kind of socially, and getting you back into like a normal life routine. How did that start, and what did your exercise look like? I think it was some running at the time, is that right?
Exercise was something I'd taken up training at the gym. Bizarrely, like about 3 or 4 months before it, I started just gone full on training. It was, and I just I've been told that held me in really good stead to survive the injury. My body was much stronger and stuff, and I was told by a doctor that my physical conditioning at the time had helped me greatly. I mean, I wasn't training for that. I was training to look better in a t-shirt behind the bar. That was the vanity thing of a 24-year-old. But I was, I really did appreciate the physical fitness and stuff. And so what happened was this: you start to read stuff about brain injury, and because it was just something that I never. I mean, it wasn't something that you ever thought would ever affect your life, and I'd read that the effects of brain injury last for 2, possibly 3 years. You heal from your physical healing goes for 2 to 3 years, but then after that you can only get better by the techniques you use and stuff. I didn't really understand that at the time. I sort of read that you're healing for 2 to 3 years, maximum of 3 years, and then you stop, and that's what you're left with. So it was a 3-year mark, and I honestly thought I was going to be on the 15th of May 2010. That was 3 years. I thought I was going to wake up on the 16th, and I was going to be better. I honestly thought that, and obviously when I wasn't, I went into I'm hesitant about saying depression, because I understand that's a really serious thing. So I was pretty low in mood anyway, and I really was really down, and I had a tough time. And I just remember I was living in my own flat. I'd moved back to Scarborough, but I was living in my own flat. I tried to move back to Manchester, but it didn't work. But I was in my own flat, and I remember sat there, and I just went, trying to pull yourself together. And I went out for a run, about a mile circuit, and then that's all. I just thought, don't push it too much. And I continued. I did that like every night for 2 weeks, and I just felt so much better. And then that became like I joined a local running club, and then you meet people through that, and it's like you realise that exercise is a very positive thing, because no one goes there. No one goes to a running club to be depressed and talk about the problems. It's kind of everyone's there because they want to better themselves, or to improve their fitness, or just to socialise, to do whatever. And I went to there, and my friend Angela she entered us for a 10k, which was horrendous. I remember it was so far. And I did a couple of 10Ks with Ange, and then we went to... my dad there was like this legend. He'd done this thing called the Great North Run, which was a half marathon. And I never thought I could ever do anything like that. And I did. I just kind of these things I do to myself. I just like push. It's like I like push myself into the stuff and then deal with the consequences later. I went to I put up I contacted Headway sort of in a bit of a daze. Contacted Headway and said I want to do the Great North Run, I want to do this, and they put something with a sponsor page, and I thought, oh my god, I'm doing it now. And I put the because my life was because I wasn't really good at being outside and socialising. I had this stammer that he spoke with, and it was just easier if I just stayed inside, and I didn't. And what was I talking? That's something that happened.
No, yeah, that's okay. I understand. So it was the next step of when you went into like the 10K and that side of things.
Yeah, so
I didn't think you was going to be able to do that type of thing before.
Yeah, so I got myself, and I obviously told the running club and people helped me train for it, and I put a thing on. Like when I didn't go out, my obsession was Facebook, which was something that I just made a profile for just before my accident, and then I just spent my life on it. It was just, people used to call me Facebook, and it was because it was like all of a sudden, like if you meet somebody in the daytime and you have a conversation with them in the street, you can't like. It takes you a while to process information, come up with an answer, and then you can't be like, I was used to working in a bar to kind of, I hate to use the word banter, but you know what I mean? It's just like chatting to people. And I was obviously like a presence on social media, and I put like a sponsor page out, and it got like, I got loads of money for over £1,000 for it, and but £1,500 in the end, and then you have to train, don't you? Because it's the guilt trip. So that became my obsession, was just running and stuff, and the more you run, the better you feel, the more
absolutely,
the better, the healthier you are, the better you tend to feel, and something I've always tried to keep up. Like, I've moved to Manchester. It's something that I've tried to, there's two ways you can go in there. You can get to know people at the local pub, and you can get to know people at the, or you can start in fitness, can't you?
Yeah, within fitness.
One's much more of a positive thing. And I was, I was just wherever I've gone, joined running clubs, joined gyms.
And just kept up with it.
Yeah.
When we look then at your life, obviously we've had that kind of pre-part where it was, kind of living your life, travelling, doing all that side of things, and then obviously the accident and everything changed. That was obviously a pivotal point in your life, the kind of point where you've come to where you was at your lowest, I suppose, and then things like exercise and running and so on, kind of bringing you back out of that a little bit, back into being able to, socialise with people a bit better, using social media a little bit more. As the last kind of part of it now, it just brings us to today, really, and where you're up to now. So I know that you're quite active now in sharing your story, and kind of telling people around about what you kind of go through on day to day. Where are you at now, finally, and kind of what would the message be to people that have been through something similar to you and maybe in that low point? As a kind of final thought,
it's I work for a company called CFG Law, and they I've done a podcast with them which we call Brain Injury Bites, and we did we're just like making content for their social media, and what we're trying to do at the moment is when you've had a serious accident, and particularly brain injury. I remember we left hospital with kind of like pretty much a pamphlet, pretty much a leaflet, a couple of leaflets to explain this massive life-changing event.
Yeah.
And so what we've done, we've developed an app. Well, I haven't done anything. Cleverer people than me have developed an app, and it's got all my. I've been writing blogs for them for years, and It's a free download. It's called Community Compass, and it's for people who we're expanding it. It's got brain injury, like mild brain injury, serious brain injury. It's got spinal injuries and stuff as well. It's just like an information source for people who've had a serious injury and who want to know more. And so we're just trying to. I'm going around promoting that. I've been going around to different Headway, which the Headway is the main brain injury charity in Britain. So, and they all have like a social group. So, I've been visiting different ones for them and doing like a little inspirational speech. But it's not. I wouldn't say it's an inspirational speech. It's more. I start a discussion, and what you find is people really enjoy it because they've not really got the chance to express themselves in such a way, so it creates a really lively conversation, and I'm trying to do a British tour and then maybe a world tour, who knows.
Definitely. And the final kind of words really to anybody that, again, might be going through something, kind of everything that you've learned over the past kind of 17, 18 years, what would be any kind of words that you would give to somebody?
Well, living as healthy as you can, as tempting as drink is, don't go down that road. I'm not saying that. I mean, stuff now is like, I stopped drinking for 4 years, and it was just pretty much terrible at the time. But the market now of alcohol-free beers and stuff like that, it kind of allows you to have a drink and socialise the same. And I think the only time I've ever I've gone backwards, my recovery's been like progress all the time, but the only time I've gone backwards is when I've kind of given up and stopped. I don't want to sound like trying to sound inspirational, but when you stop believing in yourself, you stop believing in what you can do, and you lose faith in yourself and you start being negative. But if you continue just to keep, you're gonna set yourself goals, and you're gonna set yourself a full recovery goal. Everyone does that. It's probably not going to happen, but all the time that you're not at that, then you feel you're failing, but you're not failing if you've got to just keep the faith, keep going, and be as healthy as you can, and be as active as you can, and just be as positive. Keep your social skills as well. Keep socialising, because if you lose that, then that's not a good thing. So join charities, join particularly for brain injuries. Seek out your local Headway or local brain injury group. There'll be people who, it's a very niche market. It's somebody won't understand what a 25-year-old will have to have a half an hour nap in the middle of the day, but they understand that. So they go to people who know, because that's where you'll get the most, not the most sympathy, but the most people most understanding.
Yeah, and practical knowledge from people that have been through it.
And if you learn from other people, it's great.
Yeah. Thanks very much for your time, and thank you for coming on today and sharing your story. You are a massive inspiration. Obviously, I follow your stuff, and people can see you on kind of Instagram and social media themselves. I'm trying to start a social media thing. I could do it myself really, but I'm doing. I call myself Brain Injury Brooke, which I hate, but it kind of does what it says on the tin, doesn't it? So until I find a new, better name, which I do think of often. My name's Brain Injury Brooke, and it's on Facebook and Instagram, and there's everything I've done for my company is on an app. It's a free download. It's not like you download it and then 5 days later we'll ask you for money. It's not. It's totally free. It's called Community Compass, and we're hopefully going to be pushing that out across the country. Absolutely. And I know a lot of people that do already follow you. Obviously, this podcast will go out to them, and you can share this. You'll get all this as well to share, and I'll obviously share this as much as I can, and because it is quite niche, obviously, this world that you're in, and I think actually your story is really inspirational, because you have been on a big recovery to get to where you are now. So I know that people will take value for listening. So thanks for coming on again. I really appreciate that.
Nice one. Thanks. Nice to meet you.
Thank you.